Good evening, guys, and happy Friday to all of your sunshiny faces. So we ended up going to Jack's homecoming football game. They've got homecoming this weekend, and so they had stuff going on. Like, they had a movie out on the field, but Jack didn't end up going to that because, like, they thought that, like, him and his friends, I guess, thought that there was another movie night, like, the next night also, when there wasn't. And I was, like, trying to convince him that. I was like, no, there's not. Like, there's just the one on, like, Wednesday night or something like that, I think. And he was like, no, they said there's another one on Thursday or, like, something. And I was like, I really don't think so, Jack. And then he was like, yeah, so there isn't one on, like, the next day. So he didn't end up going to that, but he is gonna go to the dance tomorrow. He got a ticket. He's gonna go, I think, with some of his friends and stuff like that. But what really stinks was that one of his friends that I don't know, Jack was like, oh, he kept saying he wasn't gonna go, but he might have wound up going. And, like, it's so funny too, because, like, him and Jack were like have been best friends since elementary school, and they used to go to, like, even the elementary school dances were, like, called sock hops. And it was just, like, you know, like, the kids would just literally go and just pretty much run around in the gym. But, like, even back then they used to go together, and Jack was like, oh, he's, like, you know, not sure that, like, he's gonna go and stuff like that. And then he ended up breaking his foot in the football game tonight, which I was like, that is so sad. Like, and so he probably definitely will not be able to go tomorrow. It's a huge bummer, like, regardless, even if he was, like, maybe planning on actually showing up or something like that. But yeah, so Jack's gonna go with some of his other friends. But his one friend that, again, they've been friends since they were, like, in first grade, basically, he's not going to be able to, you know, this will be probably one of the first, like, you know, school sort of dances that, like, he wasn't able to go to. I don't really know that Jack went to a lot of the middle school dances, or any of them, actually. Yeah, no, maybe he did. I'm trying to think, maybe he did go to at least a couple of them, because his mom was, like, very into, like she used to go and be, like, chaperone the dances and stuff like that. And so I know that, like I said, she would normally, like, pick Jack up and take him to, like, to a lot of the elementary school dances. I know he went to a bunch of those, which is weird because I don't really think that they were a thing when me and Matthew were we went to the same elementary school, and I don't think that they were really a thing when we went to school, but they were, like, sort of later on, like, again, when Jack was in school. Again, I don't think that, like I said, me or Matthew, like, I've never heard of anything really about those. Like, for us, it was, like, the Scholastic, what's it called? The Scholastic Book Fair. Matthew was in school. They had, like, a dodgeball tournament, too, which was kind of cool, because at one point the winner, which was actually Matthew's team, ended up getting to play the teachers. So it was like whoever made it to the top in the first place team got to play against the teachers, I think was how it ended up working out. So yeah, anyways, but the game tonight was kind of new. It wasn't going to be that great, and the Frost-Soft team, which is very unfortunate, might wind up having to forfeit their games for the rest of the season because they don't have enough kids. But my dad was saying that, like, they should be able, they're actually getting more kids back than the varsity, and the varsity ended up having several kids. Like I said, Jack's one friend ended up breaking his ankle, I believe it was. He actually just, like, got rolled up on and ended up, it got broken, I think was what ended up happening. My dad said he saw what happened. I actually didn't know it was, like I said, the one friend, Jack's friend, because I kept asking Matthew, I was like, oh, like, what number is he, you know? And he was like, oh, he's this number. And I was like, that kid is definitely not him, because it was like this really tall kid, and I was like, it's not that's not his number. And so it was actually one number off from what Matthew had said. And then all of a sudden I noticed that he was sitting on the sidelines, and, like, at the trainers, like, on the trainers table, and I was like, what's wrong? Like, is he okay? And so then later at the end of the game, because my mom's phone died, so she was gonna text, like, his mom and find out, like, if he was okay, but her phone died at the game. So then she texted her when she got home, and she sent her pictures and was like, yeah, his foot's broken. So yeah, that was very unfortunate. And then Jack's other friend that, like, also played, like, football with him since he was, like, I think the second year that Jack played, so he played 3 years of youth football with Jack. He was quarterbacking because the other quarterback was hurt, and he was quarterbacking and he did something to his foot also. They think it's just a sprain, so hopefully he'll be back for next week. But the reason was they brought the quarterback from the Frost-Soft team up just because they knew the starting quarterback was out already. They had a backup quarterback who got hurt like in the first drive, I think, of the game, and then so they had to bring the Frost-Soft quarterback in, and so that's why they had somebody else at the Frost-Soft game playing a quarterback. This is, like I said, guys, right now this is crazy. So like if we don't have a quarterback situation, sort of, if our starting quarterback isn't back or the backup, like I said, Jack's one friend, his foot is still sprained or whatever ended up happening to it, twisted it or something. If he's not back, then it'll still be the Frost-Soft quarterback that's going to play next week, which I think was supposed to be staying up anyway for the next game for sure. But like I said, they like don't have enough kids like at that level. They actually, I think, had 14 kids in total today, and one kid at the very beginning of the game ended up getting hurt or something, or no, I think they were supposed to have 15. One kid ended up saying he wasn't going to be able to go to the game for something, I think, or something like that. So they have 14 kids for the Frost-Soft team, and that's like sort of dangerous because again, if you have one or two kid gets hurt, which was what ended up happening there, somebody or other, they had two kids go down sort of early in the game, and our coach ended up coming over and talking to the referees and was like, if we lose any more kids, most likely we're probably not going to be able to play, was what it looked like the conversation was, because they didn't, like I said, they had like they had like 2 or 3 backups at one point, like that weren't like getting checked by the trainer or something like that, because sometimes like they'll wind up like doing something and like, oh, like, you know, hurt my knee or something like that, so they go over the trainer and then they can't come in until the trainer says, yeah, actually, you know, you just like banged it, bruised it or whatever, you can go back in. So yeah, that was like, at one point there was only like a couple subs on the sidelines that were actually like kids that were dressed too, and I was like, this is like scary. But it's because they've had to bring kids up to varsity because the kids at varsity are getting hurt too. So like I said, they had, you know, a quarterback, then our backup quarterback ends up getting hurt like the first drive, so they had to bring in the Frost-Soft quarterback that they knew they brought up anyway as a backup just in case, and then he ended up getting hurt too at one point, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it was our wide receiver almost that ended up having to play quarterback today. All in all, to say, the game did not end up going over very well. But again, like, and even the Frost-Soft team's game did not end up going over very well, and this was definitely a tougher team than any of the other ones that we probably would have faced. But the team that we're playing next week, I guess, has forfeited a couple games because they haven't had enough kids. And I was like, that was almost what happened to us today. So I think next week's game will be pretty well matched up. Because I think this team is kind of in the exact same boat that we're in right now. Which, like I said, I don't know if that means that the Frost-Soft team will have to be abandoned for the rest of the season because they're like not having enough subs, and the varsity keeps having to bring kids up because, again, kids keep getting hurt. But I think that, again, a couple of the kids might be coming back for varsity. My dad seemed to think that a lot of them for the Frost-Soft team were coming back, but Jack did get a lot more playing time because the quarterback, what today was starting quarterback, ended up getting hurt early on, like I said, and his other position is one of the positions that Jack sometimes winds up playing. They play middle linebacker, and Jack, I think, normally plays opposite, like middle linebacker of him, but Jack had to play, I think, his position today at some points because he was, like, Jack knows both of them. I'm not totally sure of the defense that they run, but it's the 2 middle linebackers that they have, and Jack, like I said, normally plays opposite him, and today I think he ended up playing his position or something like that, because Jack was like, oh, it's like tougher because he had to do like other stuff that he normally doesn't have to do at his position specifically. So yeah, and then the main starting quarterback, I think, plays corner, maybe. I don't think he plays safety. I believe he plays one of the corner positions, and so he wasn't like I said, playing either. So like they've had very, very few kids. So they've had to keep bringing some of their better sophomore kids up to play. Like I said, their backup quarterback, they had another kid that was playing running back too, because then Jack's friend, like I said, the one that actually broke his ankle, was also, I believe, one of the running backs that got hurt. So like, yeah, stuff keeps happening, everything. So yeah, the game, I don't even know what the final score was. I thought it was like 30 something to nothing for the varsity, and 35 maybe to like 12 or something. They did end up scoring twice in the frost-off game, which I thought was kind of good. But yeah, so like I said, it was not a good homecoming game really at all. But like my mom was saying too, it's like really sad because like that was the third string quarterback. Like it's really tough for a kid to that probably just thought like, I'm just going to be riding the bench for today, to come in and like played at a varsity level when that's not like. And I think is a sophomore, but he didn't play quarterback, I don't think, last year. He might have been backup quarterback, but like, so like he's only played a couple games starting quarterback for Frost-Off team, and then pretty much almost had to start today because again, like first or second drive was when our quarterback got hurt. So yeah, it was, like I said, it was a tough game just because there was a lot of anxiety of like, oh my gosh, what is going to be happening? And then on top of that too, the other team was, so that the Frost-Off level, they had a running clock, meaning like, so that like, it wasn't like, oh, every time they blow the play dead, the clock stops. They had it running so that I think they could just kind of move along quickly in the game, sort of, so the other team didn't run up the score super crazy against us or anything like that. Because at halftime, they definitely put their backups in because like, yeah, all the, like, we were able to score in the second half after, like I said, I think most of their backups went in. But the thing that sort of stunk was that, like, at the varsity level, early on, which was when our backup quarterback, which was a Frost-Off kid, he was also playing on defense as well. I think the position that normally our starting quarterback plays or something like that, but he got trucked and ran over. Like this kid lowered his shoulder while he was already in the end zone, like, and just completely like annihilated him. And that's when he came out and we were freaking out, because I was like, Jack's really good friend who again played all 4 years youth football with us, who's a wide receiver, he almost had to go in at quarterback. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is terrifying. And then they had two, at least I thought three, really bad blindside hits. One kid got ejected because of it. And this was another kid that I coached for 1 year, and he's like super quiet, like so like you never really know what is like going on because he's just so quiet. But all of a sudden he just came running around the corner, completely got blindsided, just knocked out. Like he was like laying on the ground, and then I like don't even know what happened, but he actually was able to go back in the game, which I thought completely was not going to happen because like it looked horrible. But he was not concussed, anything like that. He came up, was totally fine. He said like his stomach hurt, like I think he got the wind knocked out of him. That's what my dad said, because my dad ran out onto the field, like that was how bad it was. And I think too, because my dad has like sort of a rapport with a lot of the players, like also Jack's friend, that I didn't even know. Like I said, I never saw him actually get hurt. I think there was a point when I saw somebody was down on the sidelines, but I didn't realize that it was him again, because I also thought that was the wrong number because Matthew kept telling me it was the wrong number. But my dad went out there too and was like, are you okay, are you okay, you know, when he was talking to Jack's friend. And then this other kid too that again we coached, because he's super quiet, and so my dad was like, he's probably not even gonna wind up telling anybody that like, oh, you know, like I don't feel good or something like that, or you know, something hurts. So my dad like went out there to like go and talk to him and stuff like that, and he just told him like, oh, you know, I feel like my stomach hurts or something like that. And he's like, do you get the wind knocked out of you? And so he was actually able to go back in, which I thought was pretty crazy because the hit looked horrible. Like I said, the kid got ejected for it, which I have seen once or maybe twice in total in like all 8 years of, well no, this will be the 7th year now of high school football that Matthew's played and Jack's played. So it was like I said, pretty bad. And then there was another one after the one kid got ejected. My dad says that he thinks that the second kid that it happened to again didn't end up getting ejected, because if you get 2 kids ejected in one game, the head coach is ejected, or like he can't play like or like coach in the next game or something like that too. So my dad thinks that like they just did it so they didn't get the head coach ejected or whatever, because again, it was another pretty bad one that I saw, and they ended up throwing the flag on it, but the kid didn't get ejected. And like our coach, I guess, was arguing too, because I saw him out on the field, like, you know, that point, like, you know, you eject one kid but not the other kid, like, and so they were playing pretty dirty. And again, our kids kept getting hurt. Though, like I said, Jack's friend that broke his ankle, that wasn't really like anybody's fault. He just got rolled up on. Like, that's an injury of football. Sometimes you fall on it weird and get stuck underneath somebody. And like I said, even the quarterback problem wasn't, but they kept like late hitting our quarterbacks too, and they kept not getting flags for it. But like, except for one time, I think. But like, that kind of stuff sort of just seemed like it kept happening, and like, it just seemed like they sort of knew that like we were down kids anyway, and like, oh, we're just gonna beat up on these kids, you know, kind of thing. And like, you know, sort of just pull these like dirty sort of moves, even if some of them were sort of legal. But like, I mean, you like trucked a kid in the end zone, like, why? Like, none of that kind of stuff really made sense. So other than the fact that like they knew already that, again, like, we're gonna do a running clock for the frost off game, like, we're down kids already, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was, like I said, sort of a cheap game a little bit. It's just the way they seemed to be playing it. Like, the beginning of the game didn't really seem like that all that much, like I said, other than that one hit that I was like, that was unnecessary. But then at the end of the game, it was just like they got personal foul penalties. I think honestly they got the 2, I know, blindside hits, and then one when they scored again in the end zone. I don't know if some kid said something or did something, but they also got an unsportsmanlike conduct. It was just kind of a, like I said, crummy game. And it seemed like there was a lot of holding going on too, and like, I don't know, like I said, just sort of dirty, cheap sort of stuff going on. Some stuff that was, again, sort of, it's legal, but just like cheap, you know. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't that great of a game. It's weird though, because it seems like a lot of times, like, oh, if like some kid's doing something, like, and our kids retaliate, we'll wind up getting like penalties for it, even if like somebody else started it. But I actually didn't see that much in this game, which really made me feel like it was really the other team that was doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And like I said, either our kids weren't retaliating or the referees just like definitely knew, because again, there was a lot of other stuff that I definitely thought should or could have been called and wasn't. But again, like, I've seen, like I said, I think one kid, I know, I thought Matthews, one of Matthews' years that he played, got ejected. But other than that, like I said, this was horrible. I was surprised that he got back up and wasn't like, anything wasn't wrong with him and the trainer still cleared to put him back in. I was like, that's crazy, because it looked really bad, like terrifying. Like, my mom was like, they're gonna take him out on a stretcher. Like, that was how, like, I mean, when he got hit, he was just laying there and wasn't doing anything. And then we were like, oh my gosh. Like, and yeah, but then he got up, he was like, okay, like, he must have got the wind knocked out of him, like I said, I think was what it was. He got up, came over the sidelines, they like ran him through all the tests, they have him running and stuff like that, and then he gets up and he goes back out on the field. Like, towards the end of the game, they ended up, I think, putting him back in, or maybe he didn't go back in, but he was eligible to still go back in. I don't know if the coaches ended up actually putting him in, but that was one thing I was like, that's awesome, because, you know, this could have been way worse than what it was. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna take a shower and get to bed. Once we got home too, I'm going to bed a little late, because once we got home from the football game, Jurassic Park was on, and Jack has never seen Jurassic Park, the original. And so I was like, you know, he's like, and it was right at the beginning too, so I was like, well, we could watch it, but we're gonna be up late. I still have to go to the grocery stores tomorrow. Also, guys, it's the 1st of October, and it just was like 80 degrees outside. I think this is finally the last hot day out. I was wearing long sleeves and jeans, and I was like, I should have probably worn a short sleeve shirt and then maybe brought a sweatshirt, because at the beginning, like the frost off game, I was hot. And I was like, this never happens. Like, and it's October already, and we're already halfway through the football season, and I'm still not even cold, just wearing, like, I could have worn a t-shirt today and honestly not been cold at all. So it was really weird. It still is. Definitely not gonna say that I'm like taking this for granted, because I do prefer the warm weather over the freezing cold bundled up in 8 layers sort of weather. But yeah, it's a little bizarre to me, like homecoming, and it's not cold out yet. Like, that's weird. But beautiful weather, especially compared to last week and the week before that where it was raining. Really, like I said, happy that we had really nice, pretty warm weather too. Like I said, it wasn't even like chilly when the sun went down, like during the varsity game and stuff like that. But it was weird because I even told my mom too, I was like, normally when it's this hot and we have this type of weather, I'm not used to, during the frost off game, they turn the lights on because it got dark so early. Like, it's starting to get darker earlier by like 7 o'clock, you know, before that even sort of. You know, like complete like sunset is like, you know, by the time the varsity game has started. But they turned the lights on like halfway through the frost off game, and it still was like, that was like 6 or 6:30 or something like that. And I was like, it's still like not cold out. Like, that was what was weird to me, was that it was so light, or so dark earlier, and it was also not cold. I was like, this is weird weather. I'm used to having to be bundled up for, like I said, like when it's like the games are starting to get, like the varsity game has started and it's dark already. And so yeah, anyways, I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and we'll see y'all very soon. Jenny Faces tomorrow. So bye guys.